Which one of the following statements is not true? So first thing you have to note here is that the requirement is not true. 3 statements are true, one of them is not true. Let's see all of these statements. First statement, for an unlawful assembly, the number of persons must be 5 or more. This almost everybody knows, unlawful assembly, 5 persons or more. So this is a correct statement. The relevant section is of course section 141. Second option, mere presence of a person at the scene of the offence does not make him a member of an unlawful assembly. Now, while doing the subject, we had laid quite good amount of emphasis on this fact as to when a person becomes a member of an unlawful assembly. What are the requirements for a member to become a member of, for a person to become member of an unlawful assembly? The mere presence is sufficient or not? The relevant section here is section 142, which tells us as to when a person can be said to be a member of an unlawful assembly. Just because a person is present in an unlawful assembly does not mean that he is a member of that assembly. There may be innocent persons involved in the assembly, bystanders, children who may not be termed as members of the assembly. So yes, Jyotsna is right, mere presence is not enough. So what is required? When do we say that a person is a member of an unlawful assembly? For that we need to go to section 142. Yes, intention, you are saying, intention of what? Intention of joining the assembly? Or so intentional joining will be sufficient? Yes, Smita, you say there must be common object. Intention and common object both. Intention of what? And intention of joining the assembly or intention of joining the assembly with the common object, etc. So many variations. Or knowledge that, yes, we have an answer from Roman. She says, the person must be aware of the facts which make the assembly as unlawful. This is the correct answer. The person must be aware of the facts which make the assembly as unlawful. If he is aware of those facts which make the assembly unlawful, and if he has joined such an assembly intentionally, then he is a member. Jyotsna says he should know that the assembly is unlawful. I would correct her slightly. It is not necessary that he has the knowledge that the assembly is unlawful, because whether the assembly is unlawful or not, that will be known to a person only if he is aware of the provisions of section 141. Because it is section 141 which is making an assembly lawful or unlawful. So unless and until he knows the essential ingredients of section 141, he cannot say whether the assembly is lawful or unlawful. The requirement of law in section 142 to make a person a member of unlawful assembly is not that he must know that the assembly is actually unlawful. What he should know is the facts which make it unlawful. There is a whole lot of difference between these two statements. Having the knowledge of the facts which make the assembly unlawful and having the knowledge that the assembly is unlawful. There is a big difference between these two statements. And the first statement is correct. He need not know that the assembly is unlawful, but he should know that he should be aware of the facts which make the assembly unlawful. I will clarify this point. further by going to section 142, which tells us as to when do we say that a person is a member of an unlawful assembly. The first requirement is that that person must have intentionally joined the unlawful assembly. So of course that is the first thing, that he joins the assembly intentionally. It is not that just because he was walking on the road and so many people assembled there and he became a part of the assembly unintentionally. So there must be an intention to join the assembly. But the second thing is that he must be aware of the facts which render the assembly unlawful. Now, what are the facts which render the assembly unlawful? Yes, we have a question from Jatsna. Being aware of the facts and joining, doesn't that mean that he knows it to be unlawful? Yes, that's how most people think. I'll tell you the difference. He intentionally joins the assembly. That is the first requirement. And the second is that he is aware of the facts which render it unlawful. What are the facts? Two facts are required for making an assembly unlawful. Two facts. First fact, there are 5 or more persons. Second fact, all these 5 or more persons have a common object. They have a common object which is one of the 5 which is specified in section 141. There are 5 common objects which are specified there. The common object of the assembly, common object of all these 5 or more persons should be one of the 5 common objects which are specified in section 141. Now, if a person is aware that in this assembly there are 5 or more persons, that is, if he is able to see 5 or more persons standing there, assembled there, and if he is also aware that the common object of all these persons is one of those objects which are specified in section 141, then we say that he is a member. He intentionally joins the assembly, first requirement. Secondly, he is aware of the facts that there are 5 or more persons. Thirdly, he is aware of the fact that all these 5 or more persons have a common object which is specified in section 141. Now, these facts he should know whether assembly of 5 or more persons with a given object makes that assembly unlawful or whether it is lawful. That knowledge comes from the knowledge of section 141. Any person who is not aware of section 141 will not know that an assembly of 5 or more persons with this particular common object is unlawful. How does he know? He knows it only if he is aware of section 141. And if we today change section 141 and make it 10 persons, if we add 1 or 2 more objects, if we delete 1 or 2 objects which are already specified there, the lawfulness or unlawfulness will change. So whether a given assembly is lawful or unlawful depends entirely on section 141. And therefore, the knowledge of a person whether a given assembly is lawful or unlawful will depend whether he has the knowledge of the provisions of section 141. Any person who is not aware of the provisions of section 141 cannot decide whether a given assembly is lawful or unlawful, because it is that section which makes it lawful or unlawful. Otherwise, what is unlawful about it? 142 does not require knowledge of section 141. It only requires the knowledge of the facts which render the assembly unlawful. Alright, so with this we close this discussion. And then what are the other options? Third is, an assembly which was not unlawful when it assembled may subsequently become an unlawful assembly. This is also a correct statement, because as per the explanation given to section 141, an assembly which is originally or initially not unlawful may subsequently become unlawful. And lastly, the fourth option, when the accused persons are charged for committing mischief and for writing separately. So two charges have been framed against them. One is mischief, the other is writing. Acquittal from the charge of mischief would entail automatically acquittal from the charge of writing. This obviously is a wrong statement, because if a person is charged with 2 separate offences, acquittal of one does not automatically lead to acquittal from the other charge. So very apparently option D is incorrect, and we need to answer which statement is incorrect. Option D is the correct answer. Is this clear? You need to spend some more time on section 142.